friends, you all know that I have opened my own channel in YouTube by name English Wizard Nabiraj. In the last video session of mine, we discussed how to change active voice into passive voice when there is one object. In this session, we are going to discuss how to change active voice into passive voice when there are two objects. So my dear friends, this is the continuation of the last session. Please pay attention to me. Look at the board here. Now we are changing active voice into passive voice when there are two objects. There are two objects in English. First one is direct object, second one is indirect object. Direct object refers to things. Indirect object refers to persons. Now take a look at the example here. Mr. Ram taught us English grammar. Here, Mr. Ram is subject, taught is verb, us is indirect object, English grammar is direct object. Now my dear students, many of us will get a doubt here. That is, when there are two objects in a sentence, which one should be taken as the subject in passive voice? Just remember the rules. The first rule to change active into passive is the object in the active voice should be changed into subject in passive voice. But there are two objects here. Now the question is, which one should be taken as the subject in passive voice? Generally, we take indirect object as the subject in passive voice. So, here you see indirect object is us. So, I started the sentence in passive voice with we. Remember, us is replaced by we because pronouns of object forms. Remember one thing, my dear friends. Object forms of pronouns are used in the middle or at the end. But subject forms of pronouns are used in the beginning of the sentence. So, us is replaced by we. And then, as usual, we should use the appropriate form of the verb to be depending on the tense of the verb. Here, the verb is taught. It is in past tense. So, the forms of being past tense are was or were. As I told you, the subject must agree with the verb in person, number and tense. For this reason, we should use were. We were. And then, what is the past participle form of taught? That is also taught. We were taught. Now, one more object has to be used because we already used indirect object. Now, the next one is direct object. That should be used before the agent. So, we were taught English grammar by Mr. Rao. Now, take a look at this example, my dear friends. Mr. Rao taught us English grammar. Of course, I gave the same example here. But now I am going to show you how to write this sentence into passive by using direct object. Remember, Mr. Ram is the subject, taught is the verb, us is indirect object, English grammar is direct object. In the previous example, I showed you how to change active into passive by using indirect object. Now, I am going to show you how to rewrite the sentence by using direct object. Now, direct object is English grammar. It is the subject of the sentence. English grammar. The next two steps are same. We should use the appropriate form of the verb to be. The appropriate form of the verb to be is was. English grammar was. Then past participle is taught. English grammar was taught. Now take a look at this word here. This is indirect object. Remember, when we begin the sentence with the direct object, we should use the preposition to before the indirect object. The last thing is, as usual, the agent. That is Mr. Rao. Now, by Mr. Rao. Now the sentence goes like this. English grammar was taught to us by Mr. Rao.
Stop.
Now take a look at the sentence. The Telugu film industry awarded the title Mahanati to Savitri. So in this sentence, my dear friends, The Telugu film industry is the subject. Indirect object is Savitri because indirect object refers to persons. Direct object is the title Mahanati. It refers to things. So which of them should be taken as a subject in passive voice? We generally take indirect object as a subject. So I began the sentence with Savitri. The next rule is as usual. Depending on the tense of the verb, we should use the appropriate form of the verb to be. The appropriate form of the verb to be is was. Savitri was awarded. Next, the title Mahanati by the Telugu film industry. So here we used the direct object. Savitri was awarded the title Mahanati by the Telugu film industry. The same sentence can be rewritten by using the direct object. What's the direct object here? The title Mahanati. Now see here, see the sentence here. The title Mahanati was awarded. I told you, when there are two objects, and if we begin the sentence with the direct object, we should use the preposition to before the indirect object. The title Mahanati was awarded to Savitri by the Telugu film industry. But my dear students, remember one thing. If you ask my advice, it's always better to begin the sentence with the indirect object as the subject. Now my dear friends, look at the board here. For some verbs in English, we cannot use indirect object as subject. We should use direct object. See, verbs such as send, sell, sprinkle, buy, bring, write cannot accept indirect object as their subject. Look at the sentence here. I wrote a letter to my father. Here subject is I. Verb is wrote. A letter is direct object. My father is indirect object. So in this context, we should begin the sentence with the direct object as the subject. The direct object is a letter, so that one should be used as the subject. A letter. Now the next is as usual. Wrote is the past form. Forms of being past form are was or were. Here was is suitable to the subject. A letter was wrote, that is the verb. That should be changed into past participle form, written. The letter was written to my father by me. But if you start the sentence with indirect object, the sentence will lose its meaning. It becomes ridiculous. You cannot say, my father was written to a letter. It's absolutely ridiculous. So my dear students, remember one thing. For verbs such as send, sell, sprinkle, buy, bring, write, etc., we should take direct object as a subject. That is the point to be noted here. Now take a look at the example here, my dear friends. I sold my house to my neighbor. Here subject is I, verb is sold, direct object is my house, indirect object is my neighbor. So here in this example, we cannot use the indirect object as a subject. I told you. Verbs like sell, send, bring, buy, write cannot accept indirect object as their subject. So for this reason, I began the sentence with the direct object, my house. My house was sold, because sold is the past form of the verb, sell. So appropriate form of the verb to be is was, and then sold. Past participle is also sold to my neighbor. By me is not necessary, because only you have the right to sell your house. By me is optional. You can write it or eliminate it. The choice is yours. My house was sold to my neighbor. Here, you cannot begin the sentence with my neighbor. You cannot sell the neighbor to the house. You can sell your house to your neighbor. So please understand this. My dear students, take a look at the board now. Till now, I showed you how to change assertive sentence into passive. Now I am going to show you how to change imperative into passive. What is imperative sentence? An imperative sentence can be an order, request, advice or suggestion. It can be anything. Now the question is, when we generally use imperative sentences, when I am talking to you directly, in every sentence I need not say, I am telling you, I am talking to you like that. Without using the subject, I can speak the sentences. Start the program. Start is verb, the program is object. Now how to change this kind of sentences into passive? When imperative sentence is used in the active voice, we should begin the sentence with the latent passive voice. Then object becomes subject, the program. In any imperative sentence, the appropriate form of the verb to be is be itself. So let the program be, verb be start. That should be changed into past participle form, started. Let the program be started. Now take a look at another sentence. Finish your exam. Here verb is finish, your exam is object. So this is also imperative sentence. How to begin a sentence in passive voice? For this, as usual, use let in the beginning of the sentence. Then your exam, object becomes subject. Let your exam be finished. Finished is regular verb, so it is changed to V3 form, finished. That's all. My dear friends, now we have come to the last part of this concept, that is omission of the agent. Now when we should omit the agent? What is the agent? Subject in active voice is agent. Now look at the sentence here. When the subject is unknown or obvious from the context, agent is not necessary. For example, someone stole my purse. Subject is someone, verb is stole, object is my purse. Here the subject is unknown. So look at the sentence in passive voice here. I began the sentence with my purse, because object becomes subject. Was stolen. So that is passive verb. Stole is past form of steal. So I use the appropriate form of the verb to be was. The past participle form of stole is stolen. My purse was stolen. Here you should not say by someone, because the person is unknown. Now take a look at another example. The police arrested Raju for killing his wife. In this sentence, subject is the police, verb is arrested, object is Raju. If you want to change the sentence into passive, it should be written like this. Object becomes subject Raju, arrested. Tense of the verb is past, so appropriate form of the verb to be is was. V3 form of arrested is arrested for killing his wife. Here, I did not mention the agent by the police because the subject is crystal clear. Even I did not mention the agent, anybody knows who arrested Raju. Which department has the power to arrest anyone? Police department. So, when the subject is clear from the context, you need not mention the agent. Now, see the last context in which we are eliminating the agent. When the action is more important than the performer, it means when the action becomes more important than the person who is performing the action. Let us take an example here. They are constructing a bridge. The subject is they, verb is are constructing, object is a bridge. So as usual, object becomes subject, a bridge. Now, the verb is are constructing. The verb is in present continuous form. So, the be form is being. But remember, here I did not write are, I wrote is, because here in the passive voice the subject is singular. This is the most important point to be noted. In any context, subject must agree with the person in number, person and tense. So is. A bridge is being constructing. Main verb that which we change into past partial form, constructed. Here you see, I did not write the agent by them because it's not necessary. Why, sir? Construction of bridge is more important than the people who are constructing it. So, in these three situations, when the subject is unknown, when the subject is clear from the context, and when the action becomes more important than the person who is performing the action, agent is not necessary. That is the end of the concept, active voice and passive voice. Friends, that is the end of the concept, active voice and passive voice. I hope you have enjoyed this session 2 as well as the first video session. For those who have not watched the first video session, we are providing the link in the description of this second video session. So, those who are not able to watch the first one can use this link and watch it.